The sound of knuckles against wood at 1 a.m. is never good news. As I opened my door to find Eliza Montgomery, my intimidating, brilliant boss, standing there in the pouring rain, her designer clothes soaked through and mascara running down her cheeks, I knew my life was about to change forever. What I couldn't have known was that by sunrise, one of us would be facing a choice that could destroy everything we'd built together. "Don't say a word, just listen," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I love you, James. I've tried not to, God knows I've tried, but I can't fight it anymore." The words hung between us like a live wire, dangerous and electric. I should have closed the door. I should have remembered the company policy against workplace relationships. I should have thought about my 6-year-old daughter sleeping just down the hall. Instead, I pulled Eliza inside, out of the rain, and into my life in a way I never imagined possible. My name is James Carter, 38, single father, senior marketing director, and the man who just made the most complicated decision of his life by simply stepping aside to let his boss enter his home in the middle of the night. "Dad? Who's that lady?" My daughter's sleepy voice from the hallway was about to make everything infinitely more complicated. 3 months earlier, I was just trying to keep my head above water. After my wife Lisa's death 2 years ago, I'd been doing my best to raise our daughter Emma alone while maintaining my career at Montgomery Media, one of the city's top advertising firms. Eliza Montgomery had recently taken over as CEO following her father's retirement, and the entire office was still adjusting to her leadership style, demanding, precise, and uncompromising. "Carter, these campaign numbers are unacceptable," Eliza said, sliding the report across her immaculate desk. The morning light streaming through her corner office windows caught in her long, silky blonde hair, creating an almost halo-like effect that contrasted sharply with her ice-cold demeanor. "With all due respect, Ms. Montgomery, if you'd look at the demographic breakdown on page 4, you'd see we've actually exceeded projections in our target market," I replied, maintaining eye contact despite her intimidating presence. She raised a perfectly arched eyebrow. "Bold of you to correct me." "Bold is what you hired me for, isn't it?" The words left my mouth before I could stop them. To my surprise, the corner of her mouth twitched upward. "Touché, Carter. Don't make me regret keeping you around." She stood, smoothing her tailored dress over her slender figure. "The Westfield presentation is next week. I expect nothing less than perfection." "You'll have it," I promised, gathering my materials. As I reached the door, she called after me. "And Carter? I heard about your daughter's school play tomorrow. If you need to leave early, just make sure the Dawson files are on my desk before you go." I froze, surprised she even knew about Emma's play. "Thank you, Ms. Montgomery." "Eliza," she corrected, not looking up from her computer. "After hours, at least, I think we can manage first names." That was the first hint that beneath her cool exterior might be something more. The next few weeks brought unexpected changes. Eliza began stopping by my office with questions that could have been emails. We found ourselves working late, ordering takeout, and gradually sharing pieces of our lives. I learned she'd sacrificed personal relationships to prove herself worthy of her father's company. She discovered I'd been trying to fill the void in Emma's life while barely processing my own grief. "How do you do it?" she asked one night as we reviewed presentations, her heels discarded under the conference table, hair pulled back in a casual ponytail that softened her usually severe appearance. "Balance everything, I mean." I laughed. "Who says I'm balancing anything? Most days I feel like I'm failing at everything simultaneously." "I've seen Emma's artwork on your desk. That child adores you," she said softly. "That's not failure. What about you? The company's numbers are up 20% since you took over." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Numbers are easy. People are hard." "Some people," I corrected, holding her gaze a moment too long. The tension between us grew with each passing day. We developed inside jokes, a shorthand language of glances across conference rooms. The office began to notice. Whispers followed us down hallways. "You know, she's never shown interest in anyone at the company before," my colleague Mark mentioned casually over lunch. "It's not like that," I insisted, even as I realized I wanted it to be. The complications were obvious. She was my boss. Office relationships were explicitly against company policy, a policy Eliza herself had reinforced upon taking leadership. And then there was Emma, who had already lost one mother figure. I couldn't bring someone into her life unless I was certain they would stay. The turning point came during the Westfield presentation. Everything that could go wrong did. The client arrived early, the projector malfunctioned, and our main competitor had somehow gotten wind of our strategy and undercut our proposal. I watched Eliza's perfect composure begin to crack as the client's interest visibly waned. Without thinking, I stepped in, abandoning the prepared slides for an impromptu pitch that drew on personal stories and emotional connections to the product. By the end, I had the room laughing and the client nodding along enthusiastically. As we walked the Westfield team to the elevator, the CEO clapped me on the shoulder. "Carter, you've got a gift. Montgomery Media is lucky to have you." Once they were gone, Eliza turned to me, her professional mask slipping to reveal genuine admiration. "That was remarkable." "Just doing my job," I shrugged, though her praise meant more than I wanted to admit. "No," she insisted, stepping closer. "That was something special." For a moment, I thought she might say more, but she quickly composed herself. "Good work today, James." It was the first time she'd used my first name in the office. That night, I received a text as I was tucking Emma into bed. "Thank you for saving the day. I don't know what I would have done without you, asterisk." Such a simple message, but it shifted something between us. The careful professional boundaries we'd maintained began to blur. 2 weeks later, Emma's school called. She had a fever, and I needed to pick her up immediately. I was in the middle of finalizing a major proposal with Eliza. "I have to go," I said, already packing my things. "Emma's sick." "Of course," Eliza nodded. "The proposal can wait." "It can't, though. The deadline's tomorrow." She hesitated only briefly. "I'll come with you. We can finish it after you get Emma settled." Before I could argue, she was gathering her things, calling her assistant to clear her schedule, and walking with me to the parking garage. That afternoon changed everything. Watching Eliza Montgomery, feared CEO and corporate powerhouse, sitting cross-legged on my living room floor playing Go Fish with a feverish 6-year-old while simultaneously dictating notes for our proposal, I couldn't help but see her differently. "You're pretty," Emma declared matter-of-factly, in that unfiltered way children have. Eliza looked startled, then pleased. "Thank you, Emma. I think you're pretty too." "My mom was pretty," Emma continued. "She's in heaven now." I started to intervene, but Eliza handled it with unexpected grace. "I bet she was beautiful," she said gently. "And very proud of you." Later, after Emma had fallen asleep and we'd finished the proposal, Eliza lingered at my door. "Thank you for today," I said. "You didn't have to do any of that." "I wanted to," she replied simply. The moment stretched between us, filled with things unsaid. Finally, she stepped back. "Good night, James." I watched her walk to her car, feeling like I was standing on the edge of something both wonderful and terrifying. The company gala the following weekend brought matters to a head. Eliza arrived in a stunning blue gown that made her pale skin glow, her blonde hair cascading over one shoulder. Conversation stopped as she entered the room, commanding attention without effort. Throughout the evening, we circled each other, professional and distant in public while exchanging loaded glances across the room. After my speech thanking the team for their record-breaking quarter, she approached me at the bar. "Excellent speech, Carter. Almost makes me think you deserve that promotion we've been discussing. Almost? I raised an eyebrow, falling easily into our pattern of banter. Well, your tie is crooked. Costs you points for presentation. Her fingers reached up to straighten it, lingering a moment too long. If I'd known my future depended on my Windsor knot, I'd have practiced more. She laughed, the sound drawing attention from nearby colleagues. How's Emma feeling? Much better. She asked about you, actually. Wanted to know when the pretty lady was coming back to play cards. Something softened in Eliza's expression. She's a special kid. She is, I agreed. Thanks again for being so good with her. It was easy. She's a lot like her father. Our eyes met, and for once, neither of us looked away. The moment was interrupted by the chairman of the board calling Eliza away. As she left, she whispered, "Save me a dance later?" But later never came. An emergency with a major client pulled her into an impromptu meeting, and by the time she emerged, I had left to relieve my babysitter. The next morning, I found a note on my desk. I missed our dance. Rain check, asterisk. For weeks, we continued our delicate dance around each other, growing closer while maintaining the appearance of a strictly professional relationship. We were careful, cautious, both aware of what was at stake. Then came the Anderson account crisis. We worked through the night at the office, salvaging a campaign that had nearly fallen apart. By 3 a.m., we'd turned disaster into triumph, running on nothing but coffee and determination. We did it, Eliza sighed, collapsing onto the office sofa beside me, closer than she normally would have allowed. We make a good team, I said, too exhausted to filter my thoughts. We do, she agreed, turning to face me. In the dim light of the office, with her guard down, she looked younger, vulnerable in a way she never allowed during business hours. Sometimes I think. What? I prompted when she didn't continue. Sometimes I think about how different things could be. In another life. The weight of her words hung between us. We both knew what she meant. Eliza, I began, not sure what I was going to say. She stood abruptly. It's late. We should both get home. I watched her rebuild her walls in real time, professional armor sliding back into place. Right. Of course. We parted in the parking garage with nothing but a professional good night, but something had shifted. We'd acknowledged the current running beneath our interactions, even if we'd stepped back from it. The following week brought a company restructuring announcement. My department was being reorganized, and I was being promoted to creative director, which would mean I no longer reported directly to Eliza. She called me into her office to deliver the news personally. You've earned this, James, she said formally, handing me the official letter. Your work has been exceptional. Thank you, I replied, studying her carefully. Was this your decision? She met my eyes steadily. The promotion is based entirely on merit. That's not what I asked. A moment of silence stretched between us. Finally, she sighed. The board approved the restructuring last month. The timing of your promotion is convenient. Understanding dawned. She was removing the professional barrier between us. I see, I said carefully. And what happens now? That depends, she replied, her professional facade slipping just slightly. The new structure takes effect next Monday. After that, company policy would no longer apply to certain situations. My heart raced. Certain situations? Hypothetically speaking, she said, a hint of her usual confidence returning. I couldn't help but smile. I've always appreciated your strategic thinking. It's just good business, she replied, but her eyes told a different story. Friday night, I took Emma to her favorite pizza place to celebrate the end of the school week. As we were leaving, a familiar voice called my name. James? Emma? Eliza stood by the hostess stand, clearly surprised to see us. Eliza! Emma exclaimed with more enthusiasm than she typically showed anyone outside our immediate family. Are you having pizza too? I was going to, Eliza smiled, crouching slightly to Emma's level. I had a long week and didn't feel like cooking. We had a long week too, Emma informed her seriously. Daddy got a big promotion and I got a gold star on my math test. Those both sound like things worth celebrating, Eliza replied, her eyes flicking up to meet mine. You should celebrate with us, Emma declared. Right, Daddy? I hesitated, aware we were approaching a boundary that, once crossed, would change everything. If Eliza wants to join us, she's welcome. Something vulnerable flashed across Eliza's face, uncertainty, perhaps, or hope. I wouldn't want to intrude on your father-daughter time. It's not intruding if we invite you, Emma said with impeccable 6-year-old logic. Eliza laughed, a genuine sound I'd rarely heard at the office. Well, when you put it that way. That night changed everything. Away from work, with Emma as a buffer, we relaxed into versions of ourselves we rarely showed the world. Eliza was funny and warm, listening to Emma's school stories with genuine interest. I found myself watching them together, imagining possibilities I'd kept locked away since Lisa died. As we walked Eliza to her car afterward, Emma skipping ahead, she turned to me. Thank you for tonight. It was nice. Normal. We're pretty boring compared to your usual Friday nights, I'm sure. She shook her head. This was exactly what I needed. Her hand brushed against mine, just briefly. See you Monday, creative director. Monday brought my official transition. By Wednesday, rumors were circulating about why the restructuring had happened. By Friday, Eliza and I were being careful to maintain professional distance, aware of the speculation. People are talking, Mark informed me over lunch. People always talk, I replied evenly. This is different. The timing of your promotion, the way she looks at you in meetings. He leaned forward. Look, I'm your friend. Just be careful. Office relationships are complicated enough without involving the CEO. There's nothing to be careful about, I insisted, the lie tasting bitter. That evening, Eliza called me into her office just as I was preparing to leave. Close the door, she said, her expression unreadable. I did as instructed, bracing myself for whatever was coming. The board is concerned about the rumors, she said without preamble. My heart sank. I see. I've assured them there's nothing inappropriate happening between us. Of course, I nodded, trying to hide my disappointment. James. Her voice softened. I meant what I said. There's nothing inappropriate happening between us, yet. I looked up, surprised. But I'd like there to be, she continued, her composure slipping to reveal the vulnerability beneath. Not here, not now. But soon. If that's something you want too. The honesty in her eyes took my breath away. It is, I admitted. But it's complicated. Because of Emma? Partly. She's been through so much already. And you. Eliza Montgomery doesn't do family pizza nights and school plays. Maybe she wants to, Eliza said quietly. Maybe she's just never had the chance. We stood there, the possibility of us hanging in the air between us. I need time, I finally said. To be sure. For Emma's sake. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. 2 weeks passed. We maintained our professional relationship at work while carefully, cautiously exploring the potential for something more. Text messages in the evening. A coincidental meeting at the park where Emma was having a playdate. Small steps toward something neither of us had planned for. Then came the Anderson client dinner. As the new creative director, my presence was required alongside Eliza and the executive team. The evening was going perfectly until Mr. Anderson's son joined us. A charming, successful man about my age who clearly had his sights set on Eliza. I watched him flirt with her throughout dinner, telling myself I had no right to the jealousy burning in my chest. Eliza handled it with professional grace, neither encouraging nor explicitly rejecting his attention. When he asked her to join him for a nightcap after dinner, I held my breath. "Thank you for the offer, but I have an early meeting tomorrow," Eliza declined politely. As the dinner concluded and we stepped outside, Anderson's son persisted. "Perhaps another time? I'd love to discuss potential collaborations between our companies." Before Eliza could respond, I found myself stepping closer to her, not quite touching but clearly establishing a connection. "Ms. Montgomery and I actually need to review the presentation for tomorrow's meeting. Client satisfaction is our priority, after all." Eliza's eyes met mine, a hint of amusement and something warmer flickering in them. "Exactly right, Mr. Carter. Always the professional." The drive back to the office was quiet, charged with unspoken words. As we gathered our materials in the empty building, Eliza finally broke the silence. "That was interesting back there," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "What was?" I asked, pretending not to understand. "You know exactly what." She stepped closer. "You were jealous." I considered denying it, but honesty felt more important. "Yes." "Why?" "Because I've been thinking about what you said. About wanting more. And I think I do too." She studied my face. "What about needing time?" "For Emma's sake?" "Emma adores you," I admitted. "She asks about you constantly." "And I took a deep breath. "I can't stop thinking about you." The professional mask she wore so effortlessly slipped away completely. "James." My phone rang, shattering the moment. My babysitter's number flashed on the screen. "I have to take this," I apologized, already answering. "Hello?" Emma had woken with a nightmare, crying for me. I needed to go home immediately. "I understand," Eliza said when I explained. "Go. We'll talk tomorrow." But tomorrow brought a company crisis, and the next day an emergency client meeting. For a week, we barely had a moment alone together, the timing never quite right to continue our conversation. Then came the storm. Literal and metaphorical. A massive weather system hit the city, flooding streets and knocking out power in several neighborhoods, including mine. After getting Emma settled at my sister's house where they still had electricity, I returned to my darkened apartment to salvage what I could from the refrigerator. That's when the knock came. 1 a.m. Pouring rain. And Eliza Montgomery standing on my doorstep, soaked to the skin. "Don't say a word, just listen," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I love you, James. I've tried not to, God knows I've tried, but I can't fight it anymore." The confession hung between us, raw and honest in a way that stripped away all our careful professional pretenses. I pulled her inside, out of the rain, my heart pounding. "Dad? Who's that lady?" Emma's voice came from the hallway, startling us both. I turned to see my daughter standing there in her pajamas, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. She was supposed to be at my sister's house. "Emma? What are you doing here? I thought you were staying with Aunt Sarah." "I forgot Hoppy," she explained, holding up the rabbit. "Aunt Sarah brought me back to get him, but you weren't answering your phone so she used the spare key. She's waiting in the car." Eliza and I exchanged a look of relief mixed with something like disappointment. The moment had been interrupted, but perhaps that was for the best. This wasn't how our story should begin, with a desperate late-night confession in the midst of a storm. "Hi, Emma," Eliza said, composing herself remarkably well for someone who had just poured her heart out seconds before. "I just came to check on your dad during the storm." Emma accepted this explanation easily. "You're all wet." "I forgot my umbrella," Eliza smiled. "That's silly," Emma declared. "Daddy always says to check the weather before you go out." "Your daddy is very smart," Eliza agreed, shooting me a look that made my heart race. After Emma left with my sister, Eliza and I stood in my darkened apartment, the sound of rain creating a cocoon around us. "So," I finally said. "You love me." She closed her eyes briefly, vulnerability washing over her features. "I shouldn't have ambushed you like that. It was unprofessional, Anne." I stepped forward, closing the distance between us. "Eliza. Stop being the CEO for 5 minutes." Her eyes met mine, uncertainty and hope battling for dominance. "I don't know how to be anything else anymore." "Yes, you do. I've seen it. With Emma. With me, when you let your guard down." I reached for her hand. "And for the record, I love you too." The kiss that followed was inevitable, the culmination of months of tension and growing feelings. In the darkness of my apartment, with rain pounding against the windows, we finally stopped fighting what had been building between us since that first day in her office. The next morning brought clarity and complications in equal measure. As we sat in my kitchen, drinking coffee by candlelight as the power was still out, reality began to intrude on our newfound connection. "The board will have concerns," Eliza said, ever practical even in the aftermath of passion. "Let them," I replied. "We haven't broken any company policies. I don't report directly to you anymore. It's not that simple and you know it." She sighed, running a hand through her tousled blonde hair. "There will be talk. People will say you got your promotion because of this. Let them talk. We know the truth." She smiled, but worry still creased her brow. "And Emma? Are you sure she's ready for this? For me to be in your lives this way?" It was the right question. The one that showed me just how much Eliza understood what mattered most to me. "We'll take it slow," I promised. "Do this right. But Emma already cares about you, and you're amazing with her. The rest we'll figure out together." Eliza reached across the table, taking my hand. Together. I like the sound of that. The following months weren't easy. As predicted, office gossip exploded when our relationship became public. The board called an emergency meeting, concerned about appearances and potential conflicts of interest. Eliza handled it with characteristic grace and determination, presenting a clear case for why our relationship violated no policies and posed no risk to the company. More challenging was building a relationship with Emma. We moved carefully, arranging casual outings and slowly increasing Eliza's presence in our lives. There were difficult moments. The first time Emma called for her mother after a nightmare and found Eliza instead, the awkward questions about whether Eliza was trying to replace her mom, the inevitable tantrums and testing of boundaries. But there were beautiful moments too. Eliza helping Emma with her science project, the two of them covered in glitter and laughing. The first time Emma reached for Eliza's hand without prompting. The night Emma fell asleep between us on the couch, trusting and peaceful. 6 months after that rainy night, I asked Eliza to move in with us. 3 months after that, I proposed during a family picnic, with Emma holding the ring box and bouncing with excitement. Our wedding was small and perfect. Emma served as both flower girl and best daughter, as she insisted on being called. As Eliza and I exchanged vows, I looked at the two most important people in my world and marveled at how life could change so completely. "I never expected you," I told Eliza during our first dance. A bossy, demanding CEO who knocked on my door in the middle of the night and turned my world upside down. "Bossy?" she repeated, arching an eyebrow in mock offense. "I prefer decisively efficient." Decisively efficient, then, I laughed. And the love of my life. Her expression softened. Who would have thought that the most intimidating woman in the office would fall for the single dad with the smart mouth? I did, Emma declared, appearing suddenly beside us. You looked at Daddy the same way Princess Tiana looks at Prince Naveen in my movie. We both laughed, including her in our dance, the three of us moving together as a family. Life isn't perfect. We still face challenges, balancing careers and family, navigating the complexities of being a blended family, dealing with the occasional raised eyebrow from those who don't understand our relationship. But we face them together, stronger for having found each other. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that stormy evening when Eliza appeared at my door, soaked and vulnerable, finally giving voice to feelings we'd both been fighting. How close we came to missing our chance. How many things had to align perfectly for us to find our way to each other. And I'm reminded that the most unexpected knocks on your door can lead to the greatest happiness, if you're brave enough to answer. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to see more content like this. I'd love to know which part resonated with you most and what country you're watching from. Remember, love often finds us in the most unexpected ways, and sometimes the greatest risks lead to the greatest rewards. The right person is worth fighting for, even when, especially when, the timing seems impossible.